All right. Waiting, but had to get a few things done. I always try to, set the thing up a little bit before I get started so it'll, be here so people know I'm going to be on live. Sometimes it shows up early, sometimes it doesn't. So thanks for jumping in here, guys. I appreciate it. First things first, let me tell you that I had some dental work done today. I had 2 fillings done, one here, one down here. So I'm still kind of numb. So if I'm kind of slurring a little bit here or there, or if I start drooling, or you see my lip dragging here, I haven't had a stroke or anything. I'm just still kind of numb from this. So that's it. So anyway, before we get going, get into the actually answering and interacting with you guys here, let me give the disclaimer I always give. This is a weekly live broadcast, pretty much every Thursday. Not every Thursday, but almost every Thursday. Get on here 7 o'clock Central Time. I don't have a topic planned out. This is just an opportunity for me to interact with you guys. So you guys get to ask me your questions. I do my best to respond to all the comments that come through the live chat. Don't spam us. Don't ask the same thing over and over and over again unless you see that I skipped your comment or missed it somehow and gone on to answering comments that came after yours. Then you can ask it again for sure. But don't just ask the same thing over and over and over again. It just annoys people. Be family friendly. Be polite. Don't cuss at anybody. Don't call anybody names. We'll kick you out if that happens. We got people from all different age groups in here. So let's get going. So, boy, we got a lot of people in here tonight. We've got, oh man, too many. Kathy Hampston, Daniel R., Mark Meyer, a whole bunch of them. DLN wants to know what my shirt says. That's where we're going to start here. Hang on a second. Let me look and make sure I got nothing else here. That's where we'll start. What does my shirt say? I don't know. What does my shirt say? Oh, it says government is not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem. One of my favorite Ronald Reagan quotes. All right, Matthew Doherty says, good evening to you. Hello to you, Katernix and Scott. Robert Hermson says, I missed you last week. Looking forward all day. Hello from Richmond, Virginia. Well, thanks for coming by. I appreciate that. I'm glad we could make it to the live broadcast. Got to ask you guys a question real quick. Does the video look a little bit better than normal? Not quite as grainy, not quite as messed up, hopefully. I figured out what it was. It was the screen protector on my phone was a little bit cracked, and I think that's what was causing some of the issues with the video. I just peeled it off that portion of the camera. So, all right. Robert says, okay, I already got that one. Hello, Chris. This is from Marty. Hello, Chris from West Virginia. Hello to you. Hey, Hatch Poultry's here. Good evening, Hatch. Glad you could make it. Robert says his shirt says truth. Yeah, pretty much. Hello to you, Jessica. Isabella says, are you the dude that takes care of bunnies? I do take care of rabbits. I raise rabbits for meat. I raise quail for meat. I garden. I do all those kinds of things. So probably am the guy that you're talking about. I'm not sure anyway. Mark says, so does anyone do fermented feeds? Saw Terry at Katernix Corner did a video on them today. I don't do fermented feed myself. There's nothing wrong with it. You can do it for sure. It's not bad. In fact, it's probably good for them. I just don't do it because it's an extra step. I'm pretty busy. I don't have a ton of time to do all the extra stuff that it takes to do fermented feed. It's not really that difficult to do. It just takes a little bit of extra work. So, Millennial Prepster says, hey, Slightly Redneck, thanks for all your videos. Well, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hey to you, Spencer. Daniel says, I have quail. They're 4 weeks old. When can I incubate the quail eggs? Hang on a second. You have quail, and they are 4 week old, and they're laying eggs at 4 weeks old. Is that what you're saying? That's pretty early to be laying eggs. But as far as when you can incubate the quail eggs, usually, if you've got roosters in with them, the roosters are crowing, they're actually breeding, all that kind of stuff. I usually like to wait about 2 weeks before I start incubating eggs. But just check your fertility. Cut the eggs open, dump them out in a bowl. Look at the yolk. There's going to be a little white spot in there. That doesn't mean it's a fertile egg. That just means it's an egg that could be fertilized. And then look for a faint bullseye ring around that white spot. It's going to be a little dark. Just make it look like a bullseye, basically. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see it. So just look for that. That indicates that it's a fertile egg. So if you have 10 eggs, you check them all, and 8 of them are fertile, it's probably a good time to go ahead and start incubating your eggs. If you check them all and none of them are fertile, wait another week, try again, and check them again. That would be the best way to do that. All right, so Robert says it looks good. The video looks good. Good. I'm glad I got that fixed. Verna says, thumbs up, people. Let's see how many we can get. Thank you, Verna. I appreciate that. James says, does it make them get drunk? LOL. What are we... Oh, the fermented feed. I don't know. It might. I guess if you fermented it long enough. Jesse says, Tried breeding a first-time doe with a younger buck and the fur flew. What can I do with an aggressive doe? Waited 6 months to breed them. You know, that's tricky. Sometimes you get a rabbit that is aggressive, and it tends to be the does a lot of the time. First things first, make sure you're always taking the doe to the buck, not the buck to the doe. Does get very territorial, and that can be part of the problem. If that was what you were doing, change it around. Always take the doe out of her cage, take it to the buck's cage, or take them to an area that's new to both of them. You know, something like that. If she continues to be aggressive like that and she never calms down, my suggestion would be eat her and get a new rabbit, or get rid of her and get a new rabbit, because it's really hard to fix that. Sometimes you'll find though, once they breed, they calm down, and you just don't have problems with them anymore. So I'd say give her another couple of tries. Again, if you took her to the buck, you might try taking them both to a new place. Put the buck there first and then bring her to him. So it's new to both of them. That might help a little bit. Those are my best suggestions for that. All right. Katernik says, where should I buy my hatching eggs? Also, your video looks clearer. New camera. No, actually, I don't know if you left this comment before I said it, but no, I figured out what was causing the problem. I had my screen protector on my phone was cracked, and it was cracked right on the plate, right where the camera lens is on the phone. I do the live broadcasts off my phone, off the YouTube app on my phone. So anyway, I just peeled it away from there, cut it away from there. So I don't have any screen protector over that part of my phone anymore, which is okay. I'm not that rough on phones, but that's what was causing, I think, the issues before. I always thought it was the light that I had in here, but no, it seems to be the screen protector. So, all right. Where to buy hatching eggs? Hatch Poultry Farms would be my suggestion. He's in here tonight. Don't know if he's commented or not, but you can also find a discount code, 15% off your order of hatching eggs whenever you use the discount code. It's in the links of all my most recent videos. So go to any of my most recent videos, not the live broadcast, but regular videos. Click on them. You'll see in the description there's a link down there where you can get a discount off your hatching eggs. So, all right. New Mexico Dust Bunny says, I switched to my rabbits channel. Video looks good. Well, thank you. I'm not sure what channel you were on before, but thank you. You look marvelous, says Mark. Well, I know that's not true. You're just feeding me a line now, but hello. Hello to you, Helen. Thanks for joining us all the way from Australia. Hello to you, Thart. I'm going to call you Thart. Scott says, love your show, bro. Well, thank you. Stacy in Illinois says, thanks for all your great advice on rabbits and quail. Well, thanks for watching. I'm glad that you're finding it helpful. All right, ESL says, hello, Chris from Uruguay, I guess it is. Thanks for your videos. Well, thanks for joining us from Uruguay. I know I've heard of Uruguay, but I'm embarrassed to say I don't know exactly where that is. I should know that. I'm sorry, but thanks for joining us either way. All right, Bubba from North Carolina is here. Hello to you, Bubba. Isabel says, is that your what you do? I don't know what you're saying, Isabel. Is that your what you do? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, I'm lost on that one. Robert says, had a great week. Had a litter of rabbits with a quail hatch in the same week. Awesome. Congratulations on your new rabbits and your new quail. All right, J-Boy says, hey, Chris, thanks for all the videos and work that goes into making them. What is your rough measurements of your hanging rabbit cages hutch? I'm thinking you mean the actual shed that they hang in, not the cages themselves. Oh, boy, what is the measurement of that? Let's see. The cages are 36 inches wide, 30 inches deep. So the hutch, or the shed itself, is a little over that to give a little bit of an overhang in the front. I'd say it's probably 35 inches deep, wide. As far as lengthwise, it fits 4 cages in there. There's a little bit of a gap, so it's probably, let's see, 36. You guys are going to make me do math on the fly. You know how bad I am at math on the fly, but 36. What is that, like 12 feet, right? 12 feet plus a little bit more. I think it's 15 feet long and 30 inches, which is like, well, it's more than, it's probably about 4 feet deep. So it's probably 4 by 12. And then tall, I want to say in the front, it's probably about 8 feet tall. And then maybe it's a little lower than that. I don't know. But it's pretty close to that, 8 feet. And then in the back, it's a little bit lower than that to give a slope to the roof so the water runs off. I think it's a 2-foot drop, so it's probably 6 feet in the back. I think I got that anyway. All right, sorry, got distracted there for a second. All right, Ron It says, hey, Chris, turned 6 weeks. Oh, Quail turned 6 weeks today. Got 6 eggs in the last 2 days from 6 hens. Does that seem early to you? I was pretty surprised. It's a little bit early, but it's not unheard of. I mean, it sounds like you got some good genetics there. A lot of the times quail will start laying early, especially, like I said, if you've got good genetics. So congratulations there. It's hard to take a drink because my lip is still numb right here. I can't quite feel it, so I don't know if I'm getting the soda in my mouth. If I end up pouring it all over myself, you guys will get a good laugh. All right. Michael says, hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a good night from Big Mike from Long Island. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Hope you are, too. Seth, what's the weight and age to butcher my meat rabbits? Whatever you want. I usually like to get mine to about 5 pounds. And with my current doe, the genetics of my current doe and buck, that setup, that usually takes about 10 weeks. Now, I've had rabbits that would get to 5 pounds within 8 weeks, but that's not where I'm at right now. So usually it's going to be 8 to 12 weeks, somewhere right around in there. When they're as big as you want them to be, I just kind of eyeball it. I don't actually weigh them, but it's about 5 pounds is about the weight that I go with. So hopefully that helps. All right, Kurt says, hello, Chris. I had a rabbit, had her first litter, and she's taking care of them real good and real protective of them. Awesome. Congratulations. And it's good. First-time moms are not always the best, so it's good that you got one that is. Isabel says, is that what you do, take care of bunnies on your channel? Oh, okay, Isabel, I'm sorry. Yeah, a lot of my channel is about caring for rabbits. Now, I raise meat rabbits, so a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, most of the stuff I'm talking about is about meat rabbits. Now, that doesn't mean it wouldn't apply if you're wanting to raise, some pet rabbits and some of those kinds of things, but, there are some differences to some of that. So I just want you to be prepared. So, if you go looking for rabbit videos, you know what you're getting into. So yeah, a lot of my channel is devoted to meat bunnies, or meat rabbits, I should say, and taking care of them and how to care for them and all those kinds of things that go into that. A lot of it's about quail, a lot of it's about gardening, just general, I guess what people would call homesteading type topics, which I don't really consider myself a homesteader, but I guess I kind of fall into that genre. So, all right, Katernik says, could I possibly keep a Sarama mini chicken with Katernik's quail? You could try. There is a little bit of concern. There are some diseases that chickens can be carriers of that can affect quail. It's probably not a huge issue. You could try. My concern would, more than anything would be that the chicken, even though it's a small chicken, it's still much bigger than the quail, and that it would kill and try to eat the quail. So chickens can be really aggressive, and they will tend to eat anything that's smaller than them. So that would be my concern with it. But you could try it out and see how well they get along. You never know. They might work out just fine. All right. Hello to you, Salvador. And Thart says from South Carolina. Hello from South Carolina. Or hello to you in South Carolina. Forrest Homestead had an emergency situation with a hen that was broody and killed the first 2 that hatched. I took away the third one. My 50 quail now 2 weeks old off the heat lamp in a week or so. Awesome. Well, yeah, so you had a hen that was broody, hatched out and then killed the first 2 babies that hatched out. So, well, I'm sorry that happened, but glad you caught it and got the other one away from her. All right, Charles says, Fort Worth, Texas. Awesome. Thanks for joining us from Texas. Used to live in Texas. I like Texas. It's a pretty good state. Spencer says, my first batch of eggs to hatch will arrive next week. Any last minute advice? I'm ready, but is there more to that? It says, but ... I don't see any more. So, all right. So advice on hatching eggs that are going to arrive in the mail. It's about like hatching eggs. I mean, if you haven't seen my storing and hatching eggs videos, you can go back and watch them. It will walk you through the entire process. The only difference with shipped eggs versus eggs you're storing is you want to let them rest for about 12 to 24 hours before you put them in the incubator. So what I usually do is put them in the egg turner and set the egg turner next to the incubator. I don't plug it in or anything, just set it next to the incubator. Let them rest for 12 to 24 hours. Then I put the egg turner in the incubator and plug it in. Actually, what I do is I spray them down with a Listerine water mixture first. Then I put them in the incubator, and then I plug the egg turner in. But the rest of the process is the same. There's no difference. You can get some pretty good results from shipped eggs. So good luck with them. I hope they do well. I hope that was enough to answer your question. All right, Pierre says, howdy from Antarctica. God bless, cold here. I bet it is. Thanks for joining us all the way from Antarctica. All right, Verna says, to Spencer Acoustics, make sure that you let the eggs set for at least 24 hours before you incubate them. Good advice. Todd, Hayes Chris from Crete, Illinois. Well, thank you for joining us. And Robert says, have you seen a super jumper in price, or a super jump in price on livestock here in Richmond, Virginia? We had someone selling feeder pigs for $200, and the price of rabbits and chickens has skyrocketed. You know, I don't pay that much attention to livestock prices. I did see somebody offering some pigs for sale. They weren't just, I mean, they weren't small pigs. They were pretty decent sized pigs, and they wanted $200 for them, but that's not outrageously high. I'm sure that there are some people that are trying to take advantage of it and are jacking prices up, but I don't know. I mean, the thing I've noticed is a shortage of things like rabbits and chickens and things like that being available. There are some, but it's just not a huge amount like it used to be. Excuse me. All right, Jesse says, the aggressive doe. Wow, I can't believe I broke the golden rule. I brought the buck to the doe. Thanks, Chris. I'm relieved. Okay, good. Well, not good that you brought the buck to the doe, but good that that's the problem, because that means it's probably an easy fix. Does get, again, very aggressive when it comes to other rabbits entering their territory. So that's probably exactly what the problem was. Try taking her to him and seeing if she behaves a little bit differently. Hopefully now she does. She doesn't have like a predisposition to be mean to him, knowing that she can beat him up. But I'm guessing it's going to be all right. So good to know. All right, Daniel. So I put my bantams with the quail, and I found out that it was a really bad idea. They did not get along at all, and the quails did the attacking first, and the bantam roo was hella scared of 18 quail. Really? So the little quail rooster chased around the bantams, huh? So funny, but yeah, probably a bad idea if that's the case. It might be better if you were raising them together as chicks and not trying to put them together as full-grown adults. But who knows? All right, Ash says, how long do you keep a baby quail in the incubator? Good question. All right, they can go up to 3 days from the day they hatch before you have to remove them from the incubator. I usually do it about 24 hours, something like that. A couple things you're going to look for, though. Make sure, first of all, that the birds are completely dry and fluffy. Don't take them out of the incubator if they're at all wet. Just leave them in there until they dry out and completely dry, fluffy looking. Second thing is, try not to open the incubator if you have other birds that are hatching but have not made it out of the egg. So if they pipped the egg, cracked the egg, but they haven't got out of the egg yet, try not to open the incubator at that time. That rush of fresh air coming in, drier air usually, it can just cause that membrane inside the egg to shrink down, basically shrink wrap the birds inside the egg, and then it basically can kill them. So that's your kind of key. Now, sometimes you can't tell for sure if there's other eggs that have hatched or not. You just got to kind of guess at it and hope for the best and go for it anyway. But again, make sure the birds are completely dry, completely fluffy before you take them out. All right, are we back on? Let's see, I can't tell if we're going again or not. Where are we at? I'm trying to get going. Let's see, hang on just a second, guys. Sorry about that. Phone call right in the middle of the live broadcast. It doesn't happen very often, luckily. Give me just 1 second here. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Good grief. Sorry. Had a phone call, but it was for my other side business, real estate, videography, photography stuff, and I had to take it right then. So I'm back. So sorry about that. Where were we? I've lost track. Is that what you do? Hello, Chris. I'm from South Carolina. From Fort Worth, Texas. I think I answered that. Bantam chickens. I answered that. Congratulations on 50K. That's from, I lost track there. Forrest Homestead. Thank you. Yeah, we just hit a little over 50,000 subscribers, so that's something cool. Thank you. Chris, I like your shirt. Thank you. New Mexico Dust Bunny says, Chris, how are your grow outs? I actually don't have any grow outs right now. I sold all the rabbits. Crazy. I did video on that and kind of talked about it, but yeah, I sold them all. Just like crazy. So I've got her bred. I'm going to be, I'll have some more here soon. The last batch of quail that I hatched out, somebody that bought one of the rabbits wanted to buy them, so sold all the baby quail too. So the good thing is I got some feed money, so that's good. The bad thing is I don't have any extra meat in the freezer, but that's okay. I got, plenty of time here, and I'm working on, another batch of rabbits here and saving up eggs to put in the incubator this weekend. All right, ESL says it's between Argentina and Brazil. That's Uruguay. Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Thank you. And you're starting a quail farm. Awesome. Hopefully it goes well. Forrest Homestead says, I have a youth group on Zoom at 7. It's 5 right now. Well, awesome. You got a couple hours before you got to be on there. But thanks for doing that, by the way, for holding youth groups and things like that with kids. They need that good direction. I know not everybody that follows my channel is a Christian. I am a Christian, and I do believe, Jesus Christ is my Savior, and I believe that we should be sharing that with everybody out there. And even if you aren't a Christian, I don't think you can really say anything bad about, a youth group. It keeps kids, off the streets, out, off drugs, all those kinds of bad things that kids can get into. All right, excuse me. Verna says, 59 watching, only 27 thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up, people. Well, thanks, Verna. I appreciate that. Jonesy Self-Reliance says, I've been binge watching your rabbit videos. You do a great job, and you've answered any question about taste of rabbit. Oh, you answered my question about taste of rabbit on the live stream. What's your favorite recipe? Any ideas for first-time cooking? Oh, boy. There's so many. It does pretty good. Put it in a crock pot with a little bit of, chicken broth if you have it. That always helps a little bit. Just cook it like you would a chicken in the crock pot, and then pull it and shred it off there and make, enchiladas, quesadillas, any of those kinds of things do pretty well. I also like it just baked in the oven with, a little bit of chicken broth, some onions, carrots, celery, the mirepoix, I think is what they call it. Maybe some potatoes in there with it. All those, just like you would a typical roasted chicken, anything like that. That's a pretty good way to have it as well. Those are pretty easy too. Things I would avoid, I think it's probably easier to say, is probably avoid frying it. Everybody thinks fried rabbit, that's what I want to have, but it's a very lean meat. It doesn't fry well, in my opinion. It tends to be a little bit tough if you fry it, just not the best. So I would avoid that. I will say this too, rabbit is a pretty neutral meat. It doesn't have a lot of flavor on its own, so you want to go with, it can handle some pretty decent amount of seasoning to it as well. I mean, you don't want to go heavy on salt, of course, but because, too salty is not good. But, other things that you're going to flavor with, you can go a little bit heavy on those, and it'll handle that just fine. All right. Ron says Quail are from Hutch, so shout out to them. Awesome. Hatch is here, I think. Was here anyway. All right, Outside in Georgia says, hello, got 107 eggs ready for lockdown in a few days. Awesome. Good luck with your hatch. Hope it goes well. Cody says, hi, Chris. I have 3 quail in a 2 foot by 7 foot cage, 1 rooster and 2 hens. Purchased 2 more hens, put them in with them. Seemed fine. Next day they were tore up and bleeding. Any suggestions? Thanks. So you have 3 quail in a 2 foot cage. You put 7 foot cage, 1 rooster and 2 hens. You purchased 2 more hens. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty common. Whenever you try to mix adult birds during the breeding season, when they've got 14 hours a day of light, they're laying eggs, the roosters are crowing, all that stuff is working against you to mix groups of hens or groups of birds together. And they're almost always going to pick on the new bird. So there's a couple of things you can do. One of the suggestions I've heard a lot recently, people swear that it works, I don't know why it would be to use vinegar, just plain old distilled vinegar, maybe dilute it with a little bit of water and spray the birds down whenever you go to mix them. Just mist them down. I don't know why that would work. The idea, I think, behind it is that it affects their sense of smell, but as far as I know, birds don't really have much of a sense of smell. So I'm not sure why it works, but people say that it does work. So that's something you can try. I also find that sometimes it's helpful if you can take, one of those birds or maybe even 2 of those birds without the rooster, maybe. Just take the 4 hens, put them in their own cage by themselves. It's separate from where they were at before, so that it's a new environment to all of them, and they're equal. They're kind of, you've got 2 new ones and 2 that are existing. So they're not, overpowering. It's not their territory that they're defending. All those kinds of things. That kind of helps a little bit too. If you have the ability to, you can try, covering the cage so that it's darker and doesn't get above 14 hours a day of light. They go out of breeding mode. They stop producing eggs. They stop crowing. Then combine them. They're a little bit more tolerant at that time, but sometimes when you get back to breeding season, they get more aggressive at that way as well. Usually they'll work that out. You say tore up and bleeding. How bad? It's hard to say. If it's just some minor wounds and things like that, they'll usually work that out and they'll get over it within a couple of days. But they can kill another bird if you leave them in there. So it's something you do kind of have to keep an eye on. It's a little tricky. Hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas you can go with. So, all right. TH55269 says, always wanted to work in Antarctica, no mosquitoes. Yeah, no kidding, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Thanks, Chris, for videos. Now I'm overrun with quail and eggs. So fun. Awesome. I'm glad it's going well for you. Verna says, put something in the cage where the new ones can hide if they need to. That's a good suggestion as well. You know, give them, be careful what you do, though. You don't want to put like a box with one hole in it where they can get trapped inside there. So what I would do is maybe put, if you have like a lean-to type, I'm thinking, maybe like a box with no ends on it. So it's, you got a sidewall here, a top, and a sidewall, but it's open on both sides. So the birds can get in there to hide, but if something comes in there, they can also get out. So, hopefully that makes sense. But that's a good suggestion, Verna. Thank you. All right, Jay Bid says, my first batch of quail started hatching today. Thanks to you for your videos and Hatch Poultry for the eggs. Awesome. Congratulations on your new birds. All right, Ricky says, have you tried for a minute feed? If so, does it work? Have you tried for a minute feed? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, Ricky, I'm confused. I'm not sure what you're asking me. All right, Kelly says, how would you dispatch a quail chick that's deformed and isn't going to make it? Also, if one has splayed leg but only one leg. Okay. Now, so we're talking about dispatching the bird. That's always a tricky thing. You can do a couple of things. None of it's going to be polite or pleasant, I guess, to talk about. One thing that you can do is, wrap them up in a paper towel and just pop their head off. It's pretty easy to do and it's pretty quick. You could, something else that's similar to that. I know this sounds hideous, but I'm always looking for the quickest, most painless. I want to be over as quick as I can. I've taken the birds before, set them down, and just basically stomped on them. Put something over them so I don't have to look at that and don't have to see it. They don't see it coming, but it's just a immediate done. So I know it's terrible. It sounds brutal, but to me it's very quick. That would be a couple of ways to do that. As far as a bird with one splayed leg, you might be able to fix that if you can build like a brace or something like that that forces its leg to be under it, like a shot glass, like something that you can put it in that will hold in one place with its legs forced to be underneath it, or build some kind of brace for its leg. It's a little tricky to do, but it can be done. So if you address it quickly, those are a couple things you can try with that. Hopefully that helps, Kelly. All right. Christina Nelson says, my silver fox doe had 3 kits on her first Kindle. She was a great mom. Should the small number sorry me? I think you mean worry me. Probably autocorrect got you there. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's not uncommon for first litters to be a little bit small. Now, if it's a continuing thing, then yeah, that's probably a genetic thing, but I would just attribute it to the first litter. I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right, Ricky says, have you tried, okay. Minute feed means fermented feed. So we actually talked about that just a little bit ago. No, I don't ferment feed. I'm sure it's good for the birds. Fermented basically means it's got like probiotics and lactobacillus, I think is the bacteria name for that. Same thing that's in like apple cider vinegar or yogurt or sauerkraut. Not the kind you get out of the jar that's canned, because that's going to kill all that bacteria, but all that stuff that's really good for your gut bacteria. It's the same thing in fermented feed. So yeah, it's good for them. I don't do it myself though, just because it's a little bit of extra work, and I'm just too busy to be able to be taking on, all that extra stuff. So it's not that much work, but it is extra work. All right, Gingerbeard says, good evening, Chris from Kentucky. Hope all is well. Looking forward to more updates on the rabbits and the quails. Well, thank you very much. I will get some more videos out on those guys. I pretty much addressed every topic that I could think of on those, but you'll see some repeat topics come up eventually. You'll also see videos on, whenever I'm, hatching quail out, moving them out, those kinds of, you'll be able to see those things. So we'll talk about them more, don't worry. All right, Big Evil says, the Incubator Marsh Roll X, what they hear from Newfoundland. Okay, what? The Incubator Marsh Roll X, what they hear from, I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm not sure what that means, Big Evil. I'm sorry. I'm confused. All right. Michael says, it's been 1 week since I added 15 new quail to my existing hutch that already had 4 hens. So far, no fighting at all. Not sure, but maybe because the new birds were only 5 weeks old. That's probably a big part of it. I really find that I have really good luck moving in younger birds in with my older birds. I usually do it earlier than 5 weeks. I'm usually around 4 weeks, but assuming that they don't hit sexual maturity for another couple of weeks, they seem to mingle in just fine, and I very seldom ever have any issues with them that way. So yeah, congratulations on getting that to work. But yeah, it's worked well for me too. I would agree. All right, Forrest Humset says, it's been 2 days since the incident with the hen. I looked back in there. She had another one, but it was alive and well. I put the chick I took away from her, and she's keeping it by the looks of it. Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. All right, Savis says, greetings from Cyprus. Awesome, thanks for joining us. All right, Millennial Prepster says, I've noticed a huge surge in people wanting my rabbits, quail, chickens. I sell to cover feed prices. Have you noticed this as well? Yeah, absolutely. When I put up, usually I'll put, whenever I have rabbits sort of getting close to processing, I'll go ahead and offer them for sale, and I'll sell 2 or 3 of them to kind of help pay for feed costs, like you said. Man, this last time I put them up for sale, and I sold the entire litter, and I had people coming from an hour and a half away to get them. It was crazy. So yeah, the demand has definitely gone up, and the supply is a little bit lower from what I understand too. People are having a hard time finding them. All right, Christian says, quick question. Why do quails stop coming out of the egg? We broke through and he just stopped. Oh, there could be many reasons for that. It's really hard to narrow down. It could be a temperature related issue if your incubator's running a little bit on the cool side, or maybe even a little bit on the hot side, but more than likely on the cool side. You can get a couple of non-digital thermometers. Always say get 2 so you know that they're right. Calibrate them first, make sure they're accurate. Put them in your incubator, and then you can verify that it's reading right. And I always say get 2 because if you only got 1, you don't know if it's the incubator that's off or the thermometer. But if you've got 2 thermometers in there, and any of those 3, the incubator being 1, read the same, you'll know that's probably the accurate temperature. So you can check it that way to see if its temperature is bad. If there's too much calcium in the quail's diet, it can make the eggshells a little thick, make it difficult for the birds to hatch. Genetically, they could be just weaker birds for whatever reason. If your humidity was too high, they could have drowned in the egg. If your humidity is too low, they could be, shrink wrapped in there. There's so many different things that can go into that. I don't know if I can cover them all, but that's a common issue. Don't stress about it. Try again. Check your incubator. Make sure that the temperature is correct. Make sure you're not getting too much humidity in there. Excuse me. Let me grab a drink here. I'm drying out. One thing I will say is don't always trust the what is that called? The humidity gauge hydrometer on your incubator. A lot of times mine will read like 45% humidity, and I know it's well over that. The only way you can get real true humidity readings if you do relative humidity with a wet, dry bulb is basically what it's called. You can look that up and see how to do that. It basically involves taking a thermometer and sticking it basically through the side of your incubator with like a cotton wick of some kind that goes into the water in the bottom of it, and then another thermometer that, well, you could use your incubator if it's accurate, and then you do some math to figure out what the actual humidity is. You take the 2 temperature readings and you do some math on it. That's the only way you can get really accurate. It's relative humidity. So don't really always trust the hydrometer on your incubator. A lot of the times I'll add water to that. It's saying only 47 degree or 46% humidity, but there's water just dripping off the lid of the incubator because it's all evaporating up into the air and collecting up there and dripping off. So that could be an issue with. I've had birds that I know that's what caused them not to hatch, was I had too much water in there and it was causing problems. All right. Kurt Stewart says, 2 weeks ago, I went to the livestock auction and they had bunnies that was only 4 weeks old, and if that, and they went for $7 a piece. 4-week-old bunnies, that is way too young to be selling them. I believe the law says, at least in Missouri, I don't know if that's a state law, if it's everywhere that way, but in Missouri, I think the law is you can't sell them younger than 6 weeks old. That's really the ideal time. You shouldn't be moving them from their mother more than earlier than that, but who knows? All right, New Mexico dust bunnies. Does anyone sell their rabbit meat? Trying to get a good feel for the price. I do not sell rabbit meat. You're going to have to look into the laws about that, because most of the time, if you're selling meat for human consumption, you're going to have some kind of inspection done. You're going to have some kind of processing facility set up. Now, that might be your kitchen. I don't know the specifics about it. Look into it. Make sure you don't start selling it and get yourself in trouble without following the right rules. I know that it also depends a little bit on how much you're going to sell, but I don't know all the details about that. You're going to have to research that a little bit. Now, what you can do is sell the bunny to the people and then process it for them as a favor. So you're not actually selling the processed meat, you're selling the rabbit, and then you're just processing it for them because it's a friendly thing to do. You're processing it for free, basically, if that makes sense. It's like getting around the red tape, basically. All right, or you can sell it for pet consumption too. Just label it that way, and who cares what they do with it after they buy it? You sold it for pet consumption. All right, Big Evil says, I've been looking at the Marsh Roll X. Do you know anything about them? No, I don't know anything about them. That's what confused me. I wasn't sure what a Marsh Roll X was. I'll have to look that up. Sorry, I can't give you any advice right now. All right, Matt says, hey, Chris, ever heard of an issue with less than 2-week-old quail chicks digging up through a standard mason jar feeder into the jar? Just had it happen twice and luckily caught it both times. Yeah, I've had that happen. I stopped using those mason jar feeders because of that. They'd get inside and somehow end up in the jar itself. Most of the time in the brooder box, I just pour it on the floor. I just pour feed on the floor because they're going to throw it all over the place anyway. So that usually works. All right. Excuse me. Verna says, thumbs up, people show Chris respect and love. Well, thank you. All right. Gary says, good evening, Chris. Just finished my quail hutch off your design. Have new chicks in the brooders now to put in soon. Awesome. I'm glad that design helped out for you. All right. Now I'm getting to where the stream crashed. Sorry. Yeah, I had a phone call. I couldn't help it. Sorry, guys. All right, where are we at here? All right. Charles says, is there any difference? Is there anything different about hatching bob white eggs versus coturning? Mostly the time that they spend in the incubator. They hatch out a little bit slower. I can't remember the exact. I want to say it's 23 days, 22 days. Somebody knows the specifics, but I don't remember what bob white quail incubation time frame is. But that's the big difference. They're pretty much, really, that's the big difference in hatching any kind of egg is how long they're going to stay in the incubator. That's really the only difference. Not the only. Some of them do like a little, like duck eggs, I think like a little higher humidity, but for the most part, you can hatch them the same way you hatch any other bird egg. Just a matter of how long you leave them in the incubator when you go into lockdown, basically. All right. Verna, okay. We lost 50 people from the stream. All right, Verna actually answered that. Says they're smaller and they don't lay as many eggs. Most states you have to have a permit for bob whites. Well, yeah, that's all true. You're right. Good points, Verna. I should have probably brought that up. But, oh, that's weird. My nose is still numb. So weird. It itches, but it doesn't feel like I'm scratching it. Very odd. All right. Yeah, those are all good points, Verna. You're right. You probably would need to check into whether you have to have a permit. That's required in most states. Not all. Well, I thought it was all, but I get people all the time telling me it's not required in all states. I thought it was everywhere required a permit, but I may be wrong. All right. Oh my goodness, I scrolled too many times. Where are we at here? Hey there to, what is that? Rose Coldrake. Rose Coldrake. Hello to you. Rhonda. Hey, good evening, Rhonda. Good to see you. Gingerbread says, tell you what, cleaning the chicken house with 16 hens sick with Pasturella. The smell. No words can explain. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. I'm sorry you're having to deal with that. Robert Spencer says, I'm so glad the frost passed here in PA. My porch was getting crowded with potted plants and trees. Man, no kidding. The frost here is like, we had a frost on Mother's Day weekend. That's almost unheard of. It's incredibly late for frost. We seem to be past it now. I'm hoping to get things planted out this weekend. All right, Green Pond says, hello from South Carolina. We now have 22 quails and 5 wrecks because of your videos. Well, awesome. I hope that's a good thing. Anyway, Rhonda says, awesome. Congratulations on 50K. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Christina says, first time doe, good mom, only 3 kids, a small number worrisome. I think I answered that one for you already. Fish Whisperer says, going to be a nice weekend, though. Robert. Going to be a nice weekend, though. I'm not sure what we were talking about. Oh, yeah, the frost passed. Good. Sand says, learned a lot from you. My quail are 3 weeks old now. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. I'm glad you're finding the videos helpful. William Green, 3 dozen quail eggs in the incubator now. Good. Good luck with your hatch. Hopefully they do well. Rhonda says, yes, God is great. Indeed, I agree. All right, London says, I bred my doe a few weeks ago, and she already shed her fur. Will she have enough fur on the dewlap to make a nest? Yeah, she'll have plenty. Don't worry about it. Unless she's like completely bald, which is probably not the case. She'll have plenty of fur on her dewlap. They can come up with an amazing amount. It's like a whole rabbit just came out of their dewlap, and you can't even tell it's gone. It's crazy. So, All right, Fish Whisperer wants to know what incubators you guys are using. I'm using a little giant forced air incubator. Works just fine for me. Hey to you, Jay for Life. Good to see you. Verna says, Chris, I'm getting 11 more eggs a day. Love quail eggs. Don't use chicken eggs anymore. By the way, Lucy, my service dog, looks forward to a few eggs a couple of times a week. Yeah, Max loves the eggs. He's sitting here beside me. I got to reach down and pet him. He loves them. Loves them. He thinks they're great. All right, Michael says, just putting it out there, but if anyone here is from Long Island, I have a couple dozen sunflower plants I'm giving away for free. Let me know, and I could probably drop them off. Awesome. Nice of you to offer, Michael. All right. So, I think we already talked about that. Rhonda says, first time I made rabbit, we had rabbit Alfredo. My grandson loves it, but our favorite is barbecue rabbit. Awesome. Yeah, barbecue rabbit's pretty good. I don't much care for Alfredo myself. It's just a little too rich. Just not, I don't dislike it necessarily, but it's not my favorite. So I would skip that one, I think. Forrest says, your shirt's awesome. Thank you. And wants to know anyone else here from Washington State. How are we doing on time? 15 minutes left, roughly. All right. Excuse me. EF says, I'm pagan, but extremely conservative pagan. Keeping kids away from popular culture is very good. Well, it is, and nobody's judging you, so I don't know where I was going with that, but that's okay. So you're welcome here. We're not going to judge you for it. It's all good. All right. Owen says, oh, wait, Elijah from Kentucky, I think. Says, no, Kentucky. I don't know if that was a response to something I missed. Owen says, hi, how you doing? I'm doing well, thanks. All right, Robin says, I love the community you've created. I end up finding someone local that sells quail and also watches you. Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I like the community as well. That's the whole reason I do this stuff, is to be able to interact with you guys. I admittedly don't do a good job of doing that in the Facebook group. Luckily, everybody else in there interacts with everybody, so that's great. I need to get on there more, but I don't do it, so sorry. All right, Fish Whisperer says, what's a good size for a quail pen or a cage? It depends on how many quail you're going to put in it. You should figure probably about 1 square foot per bird, assuming you're on wire, where the droppings will fall through. If you're wanting to do, a pen on the ground, you probably want to go a little bit less than that. You want to go with maybe 2 to 3. I'd probably go with 3 to 4 square feet per bird to avoid it, otherwise it's going to fill up with droppings incredibly fast. So, it just depends on how many birds you want to raise as to how big you want to make your quail hutch. I think mine are, it's 6 foot long by 3 foot wide, so that's about 18 square feet. And I get up to like 25 birds in there at times, but they work well for me. So if that gives you something to think about, hopefully. All right, hello to you, Matthew from Alabama. Savas says, I have 8 does, 4 to 4 on ratio births. Rotation births. Okay, got it. I started by watching a video from you 3 years ago. Awesome. Thank you for still sticking around 3 years later. Leo Wolf says, the guinea pig or rat hutch will work for a hiding spot as well. Yeah, I guess it would. That's a good suggestion. Anthony says, are you no longer recommending Kansas City Quail Farms? No, Kansas City Quail Farms is fantastic. I do recommend Kansas City Quail Farms as well, but I've got this new offer through Hatch Poultry. Hatch Poultry has been great to deal with. Fantastic bloodlines. I would say, I wouldn't say that, Kansas City Quail Farms is any worse or any better. I just have a discount code I can offer you with Hatch Poultry. So a lot of times I recommend them. But either one, you're not going to go wrong with either one of them. Kansas City Quail Farms is a great breeder, super friendly people. They're going to treat you right. They're going to give you a great product. So if you want to order through Kansas City Quail Farms, definitely do it. You're not going to go wrong. Tell them I sent you, let them know, and they'll be happy to help you out. Grab one more drink here. All right, Outdoors of Eden says, would a mixed breed of rabbit produce quality offspring with a purebred? Depends on the rabbit. You can't just say in general, yes it will or no it won't. It depends on the specific genetics of the rabbit. It could very well do very well. There's a lot of people that breed mixed breed rabbits only. My personal belief is that, generally speaking, purebred rabbits do produce better. They have better genetics. So you're going to get faster grow outs. You're going to get bigger litters usually. But I do like to breed purebred breeders of different breeds, like California and New Zealand. And that hybrid vigor in that first generation really does help out as well. But there's lots of mixed breed rabbits out there that produce big litters that grow fast. So it just depends on the specific rabbit. You can't really say for sure. All right, Matt Taylor says, thanks, Robert. I switched to tray till they were larger. Glad it was glass jar. If plastic, it would have been seen the little guy in there. Oh, I wouldn't have seen the. Okay, I know what you're talking about. The bird in the feeder. Yeah. All right. EFL says, yes, good to see. Raising own animals is sacred. Growing own food, same. Simple living. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. You guys are having an individual conversation. I was confused there for a minute. All right. Fish Whisperer says, anyone here have any info on pheasant breeding? Pheasant's not my expertise. All right. We're getting short on time, so I'm going to skip some of these comments that are conversations between people, let you guys talk with each other. You're welcome to do that. It doesn't bother me a bit. Karina says, hello, my buddy's pregnant. Well, good. Hopefully that's a good thing. Make sure you get a nest box in for her around day 28, 29, somewhere around in there. Just watch her, throw some straw in there when it starts getting close to that date. Just go by every day and throw a handful of straw in there. And if she picks it up, starts carrying it around, hanging out both sides of her mouth, put a nest box in and get ready for the babies. They're coming pretty quick. All right, Elijah says, hey, everyone, I'm planning on getting quail. Any pros and cons or anything you recommend not doing? Just a few tips, please. Wow, that's a wide open question. Big topic. I've got tons of videos on that stuff. I don't know that I can answer all those questions. I don't know if there's anything that jumps out at me. The big thing I would say is if you're thinking about getting quail and you plan on doing it, set your cages up before you ever buy the quail. Lots of people will buy the animals and then come home and they have nowhere to put them. So they're keeping them in like cardboard boxes and things like that. That's just not healthy. That's not good for them. Set your cages up first. I don't know that there's any big tips or anything. I'm sure there are, but again, it's too big of a question. I don't know that I can get it all answered. All right. Tyler Shepard says, hi Chris, how far do you hatch your batches of quail? What do you mean how far? Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Christine, wait, is it? I think it's Christina Nelson. I think that's who it is. I think that's the name. Says, how is the garden? Not much going on in the garden right now. I mean, we had a frost last weekend, so I haven't planted much out. The tomatoes that are going in the milk jugs seem to be doing really, really well. I did open up one of the milk jugs today. And one thing I will say is like one of them, it grew out the top of it and just looked great. I took the milk jug off of it and it was a little bit like tippy. I had to stick a stake in the ground and tie it up to get it to stand up. And I don't know if that's because it was in the milk jug. I don't know. So we'll see. Next year, I think I will definitely start them later. I like the idea of starting them in the milk jug, but I don't want them to get quite as big and grow out the top of the milk jugs next year. So we're going to change that up, start them a little later in the year. All right. Michael says, I use my free time from quarantine and your channel to plant tomatoes, all types of peppers, herbs, and berries, as well as quail, and an awesome compost pile, and put in a fire pit. Man, it sounds like you've been busy. So I'm glad my videos were a little bit helpful for you with all that. It sounds like you've got a lot going on. Watermelon says, hey, Chris, love your videos and subscribe. I'm new to quail. I'm getting some chicks soon. Wish me luck. Well, good luck indeed. Thanks for subscribing. Hopefully the videos are helpful for you, and I'm sure you're going to do great. Jesse Olson says, have you ever tried smoking your rabbit meat? Would it dry out? Yeah, smoked rabbit's really good. Of course, smoked anything's really good, but yeah, smoked rabbit is good. One thing I've done is, when you smoke rabbit, you really want to do a whole bunch of them at a time. You don't want to do just one rabbit. It's a little bit of a waste to do one rabbit, but do a whole bunch of them at a time, and then put them in like vacuum seal bags with some, like fresh herbs, whatever you like, rosemary, thyme, that kind of stuff, and maybe a quarter stick of butter, and then seal that thing off, vacuum seal it, stick them in the freezer, and then when you want them, eat them for dinner, you just pull them out of the freezer, thaw them out first if you want to, put the whole bag, sealed and everything, in a pot of boiling water to bring it up to temp, and then just take it out, open the bag, dump the rabbit out, and you're ready to eat. It's really convenient and really, really good. It does dry it out a little bit, but all smoked meat tends to be a little bit dry usually. Not all, but most of it. But it's not a problem. It turns out really good in my opinion. All right. Rhonda says, can't wait to have quail again and baby rabbits, but we're trying to hold off. It's been too cold to do anything on our property this week. Yeah, hang in there. It'll get better. Tacky Taylor, good grief, that's a name, says, still air humidity levels for first 18 days. Well, the humidity level doesn't really matter if you're using still air or forced air. For the first 18 days, I like to have it somewhere between about 50 to 60%. Try not to go too much over 60%. And I try not to let it drop too much under 50%. I've been doing a lot of dry hatching lately where I don't add any water to the incubator until I go into lockdown. And it's working pretty good. But I think our outside air humidity, like relative humidity in the air itself, is probably around 50% to 60% anyway. So that's probably about right. 50 to 60% for the first 18 days. When you go into lockdown, you want to bump it up a little bit. Really about 75% is probably about right. You don't really want to go, well, about 70%, I would say, is probably about right. You want to try to stay below 80%. Don't go above 80% humidity if you can avoid it. Hopefully that helps. All right, Rhonda says, lady, I gave my quail 2 offered me free eggs to hatch when I'm ready. I did have a doe and 2 bucks ready to go when we're ready. Awesome. Well, at least you got some preparations. You're ready to go, so that's good news. And I know that you were wanting that land for a long time, so congratulations on getting that land. All right, New Mexico Dust Bunny says, if you have a rabbit hemorrhagic disease in your area, you probably shouldn't sell your rabbits right now. Northern and southern New Mexico has an outbreak going on right now with it. Yeah, that's a good point. New Mexico dust bunnies. Yeah, if there is, if those kinds of diseases are in your area, it's probably not a good time to be selling them, and probably not a good time to be buying them. And if you do buy any bunnies in an area like that, you definitely want to quarantine them. You want to keep them completely separate from the rest of them, 30 days, 45 days, something like that, before you bring them in anywhere close. All right. Evan says, hi, Chris. I'm from Wales in the UK. One of my quail are laying eggs without a shell. That's a pretty common thing, unless it happens like all the time, like every time they lay an egg, it's with no shell. It's a pretty common thing, especially when they first start laying eggs. You're going to get those eggs from time to time. It's usually nothing at all to worry about. It's just part of the egg laying process. It happens. Don't stress about it. It's going to be fine. Now, if it does happen to where this is an older bird that's been laying eggs for a while, and then they're laying eggs with no shells on them every single time they lay an egg for months on end, weeks on end, I should say, then it may be a sign that you have some low calcium in your bird's diet. They need around 1.5% calcium of their diet, and if that happens, then if you're low, you can check your feed and see. And if it's low, you can add calcium, but don't add it to the feed. Add it as a crushed oyster shell on the side, a separate container, so they can just eat as much as they want. Hopefully that helps. Excuse me, drying out again. I'm starting to be able to feel a little bit. It's easier to drink. What are we doing? 5 minutes. All right, TH55269. One of my colored SSC male birds is missing lots of feathers from its head, neck, like an overbred female. Has the gender bending trend hit quail now? Well, I mean, who knows? Are you sure it's a male, first of all? But if it is, and it's missing feathers from its head, a lot of times, that's the hens picking on the males for whatever reason, or if you have too many roosters, not enough hens, the other roosters will try to breed with those roosters sometimes till they figure out, well, that's not a hen. Especially at the beginning of the breeding season, when they first go into breeding mode, they get pretty excited, I guess I should say, and that may be the cause. All right, New Mexico dust bunnies with the wild population of cottontail and jackrabbits. Talking about not selling them because of the wild population. Okay, yeah, good point. All right, Rhonda says, do you think it will affect the litter size of the doe? Doesn't have her first litter until she's 2 years old. Again, it depends a little bit on the specific rabbit, but yeah, if you wait until they're 2 years old to breed them, it could definitely affect their litter size. It's probably best to get them bred before they're a year old, between 6 months to a year old for their first litter, to ensure that you're going to get the best results. But that doesn't hold true for all rabbits. Some of them are going to produce just fine, so it's not a reason not to breed them. All right. Yep, Verna's got the same advice on the shellless eggs, saying that if they first started laying, it's going to correct itself. All right. I've got a couple of comments here. All right, Jackie says, I've raised rabbits for many years. I wean them all at 4 weeks, and they always do great. There is no need to leave them with the mother until 6 weeks old. Well, I'm glad it's working out for you, Jackie. It is and you may be right. It may be just fine to wean them at 4 weeks. I'm sure that it does just fine, no problems whatsoever. But there is a chance if you're weaning them, too early. 4 weeks may not be too early, but if you are weaning them too early, you run the risk of things like weaning enteritis and those kinds of things. It's my personal belief that 6 weeks is probably the best to leave them with them, but that's okay. We can differ on that opinion. You're doing it. It's working out well for you. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I just always recommend 6 weeks. That's just my opinion on that. I may be wrong on it, but nothing's going to hurt leaving them in there for 6 weeks. But apparently, you're doing well with 4 weeks. So, all right. Elijah said, didn't mean to send that. I'm not sure what you didn't mean to send, but that's okay. Matthew Doherty says donation. I'm not sure what we're talking about. I must have missed something. All right. Tacky says, I found you 5 weeks ago, and since I have incubated 25 eggs and purchased 3 goats, and I don't know who I am. Well, I'm sorry I got something started. Well, hopefully it's a good thing. So thanks for watching, and congratulations on all your new animals. EF says, I like that. Sell the rabbit and process for free. Does this work? It can work for sure. It's a little bit tricky how you go about it to make sure people know what you're doing that you're doing it, but you can't really advertise in ways, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it could work. Try it out and see. All right. Rhonda Snare says, I used to have bob whites. It takes longer for them to start laying eggs as well. Yep, I remember you had bob whites, Rhonda. All right, New Mexico Dust Bunny says, nothing needed to sell homegrown meat from your home scale or home small scale. A few rules, but you can do it freely. New Mexico is an easy state on livestock. We're open farmland and wild open spaces here. Yep, it's a good point. Those are state specific. So look in your state. Some states are a little bit different than others. But again, I think the key is they're small scale. I mean, if you try to go great big with it and make a living off of it, that alone, that's a different story. All right. Ash says, have you ever had just one quail hatch and you're wondering if the rest of them will hatch? I don't know that I've ever had just one quail hatch, but I have had some pretty low numbers, and then I'm waiting on the rest of them to hatch, whether they're going to or not. I've had that happen before. Most of the time I will get more to hatch, but sometimes not. Sometimes I just end up with like 10 quail, and that's it. That's all I got out of 80 eggs that are set or something like that. All right, Squatched says, evening from South Alabama. Thank you for joining, and good evening to you too. Just checking the time. We got just a couple of minutes left. I'm going to try to jump down to some other comments. Hi, Chris. This is from KW. Hi, Chris. Just bought my first 25 eggs from Southwest Game Birds. Can't wait to get them and hatch them. Good. Well, good luck with your hatch. Hopefully they go well. James says, my quail hen is 5 weeks old and not laying. Help. Wait. 8 weeks old is typical when they start laying. 8 to 10 to 12 weeks old sometimes. As long as you got them on 14 hours a day of light, give them some time, they'll start laying. EF says, I build my cages based upon the size of the drop tray that I can find, so 2x3. That's good advice, EF. Yeah, if you're going to plan on putting drop trays under them, try to source your drop trays first because they can be a little bit tricky. All right. Squatch says, I've been making poop tea with my quail, chicken, peacock, and pheasant droppings. Best fertilizer ever. Yeah, I always think it's a little bit hot. It can kind of burn your plants if you're not careful, but if you're diluting it down, it's going to work great. So, good job. All right. Peter says it's great stuff. Foam when cured, safe for quail. What? Is great stuff? Oh, that's the brand. Great Stuff Foam. You're talking about like that foam insulation stuff. Is it safe for quail? I don't know. Check the ingredients list and check it out. I really don't know. I would assume it is. But then again, I just don't know. I don't know if I'd put it anywhere where they're going to be able to peck on it and peck pieces of it off and eat it. It may not be good. Matthew says Bob White quail incubation is 23 to 24 days. I was pretty close. I think I said 22 to 23, something like that. So I was close. All right, Sabbath says, haven't missed a video since. You inspired me to start on quails too. Actually started 6 months ago, and now I have about 40 birds. Your videos are very informative and inspiring. Well, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And congratulations on all the stuff that you're doing. Where are we at here? We're out of time. Oh my gosh, look at all these things that I didn't get to answer. I'm so sorry, guys. I wish I could get all your questions answered, but we're out of time. I got to wrap this up, go get some dinner made for the family, spend some time with them before it's time to go to bed, get up and do it for one more day this week. So hope you guys all have a great weekend. Hope that you're all staying safe and healthy. Hopefully we're through most of the worst of this pandemic that's going around right now. But anyway, God bless you guys all. We'll hopefully see you guys again next week. And take care. Good night.